Hi there, welcome to LSB Feasters radio channel where we keep great radio from the past alive. Today we're going to Miami and a radio legend, the one and only Neil Rogers. Neil Rogers was cantankerous, he was cranky, he complained about everything, and his listeners in Miami loved it. Neil was born in Rochester, New York, and his career began in Western New York, working at stations in Batavia and other markets like Canandaigua around Western New York. But in 1975, he moved to South Florida, taking a job at WJNO, but his career really took off the next year at WKAT in Miami. He became a sensation. In 78, he moved to WNWS Miami, and then eventually WINZ, before moving to WIOD in 1988, and later WQAM. Through the different formats and different stations, Neil Rogers remained popular for decades in South Florida. He retired from radio in 2009 when WQAM decided it wanted to go in a more sports-related direction, and they bought out his contract. And sadly, Neil passed on a year later in 2010. If you have never had a chance to hear the one and only Neil Rogers, this is going to be interesting. Check him out, Neil Rogers on 610 WIOD Miami.
Neil Rogers Show. This is your brain. Any questions?
It's the title fight matchup no one ever thought of until now. Tyson versus Doc. Mike Tyson, Princess Diana. 15 rounds to decide who will wear the crown.
That's my tiara.
Not no more, your highness.
I think you're right.
Mike Tyson wanted a fight that would bring him the box.
That's right.
Princess Diana just wanted to beat up a man. Any man.
I shall punch you so hard your liver shall quiver. Yes!
You damn nickel.
Don King and the Queen present Tyson versus Diana.
Riding instructor. Mama, you should have fooled around with a boxing instructor.
I don't need the crown jewels. I shall take your family jewels.
Ah, ain't no fair touching Mr. Marble.
It's Malice in the Palace. Tyson and Doc.
I'm gonna put her on her can in Buckingham.
Friday night on pay-per-view.
Okay, 10:06 at WIOD. Happy holidays to you. Happy Wednesday. Happy whatever the hell you got on. Happy Kwanzaa, etc. What is that? What is that Kwanzaa stuff, huh?
That's like the 26th.
No, I don't mean like when. I mean like what is it? See, I'm trying to say anything that would like evade the obvious at this point. And thank God Jeff Rimmer is here. When the hell would I ever think I would say that? Thank God Jeff Rimmer is here on this particular day. Manistana Halala Hazeh. Why is this day any different from any other day? That's because Jeff Rimmer is here to save the day. He might have been okay here this morning, you know, but that's another story which we'll talk about later. I'm sure we will. I might just have one or two comments to make, but, you know, not now. Let's not spoil a good time. So anyway, Don Cherry's going to be with us on the phone in about 20 minutes. Don't sit back in a chair, like sit up there by that thing's a microphone, okay?
I don't want to.
You're not used to seeing
I don't
want
to interrupt anything here.
Yeah.
After all, he's been stimulating radio for the last 4 hours.
Oh, so you're going to start. You're going to start.
Hey,
What time is your show on?
I don't have one.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Well, no comment.
Okay.
It's best I don't say anything.
Let's all just do like Phil Henry now. No comment. No matter what it is, no comment, okay?
No comment.
Let's see if we got anybody listening this morning. Okay. Now, how many tickets did you bring, by the way?
No, hang on a second here. Now, you're assuming something.
Assuming what?
That I'm going to give tickets away today.
Yes,
or that I bring
yes, I
tickets
am.
from the
You
Florida
want to know why I'm
Panthers.
assuming that?
I never said I was going to
Because
get
you and
tickets.
Jeff Moss are into this ego thing.
Oh, come on.
You
Leave
are.
Jeff alone.
See, this isn't QAM. We don't sit here and play these like cutesy little games. You know, everything is
I'm
like
not playing any
these
cutesy
contrived arguments between Ass in the Woods there and the little dog or whatever the guy's name is. We don't do that.
No,
we
don't
also
do it.
don't bring people on here to stick their head up Wayne's ass. If we want somebody to kiss ass, we got Defoe. We don't have to have you kissing ass.
Well, listen, I was listening down on my way in here, up the dial,
Yeah.
and they're defending Brian Cox.
You can say-
Unconscionable.
They're defending Brian Cox?
They're defending Brian Cox.
Based on
Can
what?
you believe it?
Based on
based
what?
on the fact one thing. He's on that radio station on Thursday nights.
Well, that don't sound like a conflict of interest to me.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's your credible station. Didn't you tell me they said Joe Newendike went to Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
First of all, who would believe that? Didn't the Penguins just unload Robitaille and both Samuelsons because they couldn't afford the payroll and they're still in financial problems? the Penguins need more scoring power like I need more hemorrhoids.
Well, Joe Nieuwendyk did get traded. He got traded late last night, after the deadline, I might add.
Yeah.
Because the trade wasn't made by midnight. I just looked at the late edition of the USA Today, which doesn't go to bed till 2 a.m., and there's no deal in the newspaper. But for all the hockey fans tuning in this morning, Nieuwendyk went, and it's just a bogus trade. He went to Dallas for Dallas's number 1 pick. First name Jerome, second name Alphabet, and Corey Millen, who was in the International League for most of last year. Now, I know for a fact...
Oh, is this going to be like when you couldn't pronounce the names on the PA, that one game you did, going to be the same thing again? We can't pronounce his last name, so it's Alphabet Soup.
He's a number 1 pick out of Kamloops, British Columbia.
Oh, Kamloops. I like
World
that. That's my
Junior
favorite
team.
place, Kamloops.
Yeah, Kamloops.
Next to Medicine
confused
Hat.
with Fruit Loops.
No, that's
But anyway...
Denise. Don't start on Denise already, will you?
I'm not starting on Denise. Give me a break. Fact of the matter is, Nieuwendyk gets traded to the Dallas Stars, signs a $5 million
What a boring
contract.
team that is. Oh,
And,
my God. You
hey,
talk about a team that
they got
needs
a
Joe
talented player.
Nieuwendyk. They can't score. That team is so goddamn boring. So maybe there's some justice there because they
Now
need
they've
him
got
badly.
Modano and Nieuwendyk.
It would have been nice if the Leafs would have got him, but it'd be real nice if the Panthers got him. But the Panthers are doing great, and the big article today is how they're doing great with the low payroll. So they're not looking like to pay anybody gigantic money with all these sob stories we're hearing now from Wayne.
I can tell you, Brian Murray tried to get Nieuwendyk, and in fact, I know...
But we couldn't afford him.
No, it has nothing to do with money.
What was it for then?
The Panthers offered a better package of players
Than Dallas did.
than what Dallas
So then why
did.
didn't we get
the
him? Are they
Rangers
anti-Semitic?
offered better players.
Why
the
didn't
New
we get
Jersey
him then?
Devils didn't, because the guy that's now running the show, Doug Risebrough, got fired. Al Coates was afraid to pull the trigger. I was talking last night to a hockey guy who told me that the general
Don't say
managers
pull
are
the
getting-
trigger, because there are a lot of us around here today who are right on the edge. In fact, I walked in the building this morning. I have never seen it. There were like 50 people. All the people associated with the AM in this building were sitting around preparing to play Russian roulette. The only problem is the guns were all fully loaded. So that should paint a verbal picture for you how things are around here. But anyway, you were saying...
Al Coates was reluctant to make a trade, and certainly, obviously, he trades him to Dallas when really there's no question that in the Eastern Conference alone, with the Rangers and the Flyers and the Panthers and the Devils, he could have made a much better deal than the
Why would he want to trade him to somebody in his own conference anyway?
That's what they did. They traded him. Calgary and the Dallas Stars are in the same conference.
They played a nice game last night against the Penguins, Calgary, 7-1. They got blown out.
Anyway, you were asking me about tickets, and why would you assume that I'm bringing tickets?
I already told you that because Jeff Moss said, you tell me what day Rimmer is coming on, and we'll have like a contest to see who's going to bring you the most tickets, which to me indicates probably like 2 or 3 pair apiece.
Well, the reason I came is I want to see what I could mooch off of you. I mean, where's my gift for coming?
Yeah, we got a gift for you. We got your gift right over here, Rimmer. Your gift will be Don Cherry on the phone in about 10, 15 minutes.
The best Don Cherry.
And what is that god-awful show? I was watching it on KBL on Sunday night. It's an old show.
What show
where
is
he's
that?
sitting in the bar and he was interviewing Lou
Oh,
Ross
Don
and,
Cherry's Grapevine.
Yeah, what is that? It was 2 years old.
Well, they're rerunning the best of Don
The best
Cherry's
of.
Grapevine.
We don't want no more
Kind
of
of
those
like the best of
tapes.
this morning,
Right.
WIOD.
See, there he goes again. More shots. See, if you want to suck your way back into this place, which I know you're desperate to do, this ain't the way to do it, Rimmer. I'll tell you that right now. So you might
I'm
want
not
to
knocking him.
reevaluate. Yeah. Why don't just for one time you say on the air what you tell me off the air. That would be a first. There's a first for everything, like that pot van guy. But we'll get into that in a minute. 12 minutes after your mic's off, 12 after 10 at WIOD. Jeff Rimmer, the voice of the Florida Panthers. And by the way, I should mention the first place in the conference and in the league Panthers still because, thank you, New Jersey, they finally scored more than 2 goals last night. Every time they score
great
more
game.
than 2 goals, they win a game. Overtime, they beat the Flyers. All right. Oh! How do you like that? So thank you so much. We're still in first place in the league. 12 after 10 at WIOD.
So tell me, what's your secret this evening, my dear?
Is that when I got more pleasure from the shower massage than the last man I was with?
Passion Phones, 8 p.m. till midnight on News, Talk, and Entertainment Radio, 610 WIOD.
O'Neill, my queen. God.
That damn faggot. I can't stand him.
Okay, 10:16 at WIOD. So what were you just saying about Denise Potvin? We got a real epidemic. I want to talk to Cherry about this. We have a real epidemic in hockey, and I'm one of those people who's a real nut about listening and watching the hockey games and have great respect for great broadcasters. I don't want to get into a big thing about that. But whether you're good, bad, or indifferent, the jockocracy that Howard Cosell talked about, where we got these ex-jocks who think that they're God's answer to whatever the question is, no matter what it is, and everybody wants to hear them. We don't want to hear them, and I know, being the name dropper that you are, you always love talking about John Davidson, JD. I want to salute Red Fisher, that old fart up in Montreal, ripped him an ass on Hockey Night in Canada over the weekend, deservedly so. John Davidson is he's a big pile of turd, okay? And I'm going to tell you the same thing see, when I come on the air, I tell you the same thing that I tell you on the phone. I don't waffle. I don't cover my bets, okay? I don't like wimp out and kiss ass. John Davidson never shuts up.
That's your opinion.
Sam Rosen ought to sue him for he should. He ought to sue him. He's killing this man.
JD is known around the National Hockey League as the premier analyst in the game.
He couldn't lick Harry Neal's ass.
Well, hey, that's your interpretation. It's all subjective.
Truth.
It's all subjective.
It's
I think John Davidson, from an information point of view, from an analytical point of view,
absolutely,
I think he's terrific. I think he's great.
Yeah, of course you do, because he's a personal friend of yours.
Even if he wasn't a personal friend of mine, I still think he was good. He is strong.
All right,
Neil,
all right.
He is very strong.
So
I understand what you're saying, though.
So in other words, you like, as a play-by-play broadcaster yourself, who's always whining to me on the phone about people talking over you, you like having the color guy, the ex-jock, talking while you're trying to describe the game. Is that what you're just saying to me?
I think there's a time and a place for it.
Yeah.
I think there's a time.
Talking over the guy?
When there's a lot of neutral zone play, there's nothing wrong with coming in with a comment.
And that's the key. But when you're incessantly talking and get involved in a conversation that has nothing to do with the play, there's a problem.
I understand a fairy told me that last week he got all over me.
Which fairy was that?
I don't know, but
you know a lot of
several.
them, I guess. That's what I hear.
The tooth fairy.
Yeah.
How's that? Told me you got all over me because we were discussing what was going on the other side of the ice in the Boston Bruins game.
Got a 2-on-1 break. We got a great chance to put the game away.
There wasn't a 2-on-1 break when we started discussing it. But normally you were going to get 9 times out of 10 you're going to be able to complete. You're going to be able to complete what you want to get in. But there's a lot of play-by-play guys that don't like any analytical commentary at all during the play-by-play. When the whistle stops, fine. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. And John Davidson and Sam Rosen, I think, are a terrific team. I kind of like JD.
If you like hearing guys have a conversation that has nothing to do with watching the game, if you enjoy somebody making the game exciting,
Neil, also understand it's a television sport.
Yeah, it is a television
It's not
sport,
radio.
Right.
Now, radio, it's puck to puck, play to play.
You don't have to do as much verbal. I grant you, you can see things. You can to do a little more diversion. But nevertheless, there are people watching. There are people who are veteran fans who understand everything that's going on. There are people tuning in for the first time every day. You're trying to make the sport exciting to them. You don't make it exciting to them when you're talking about caca.
So you're saying there's an epidemic going around the National Hockey League right now?
There is a major epidemic. I told you about Saturday night. I'm watching the Hockey Night in Canada there. The Leafs pounding the Kings, by the way. The Leafs are winning every day. I should mention that. And Harry Neal, who usually, and I just told you, I think he's the best on color. He's talking over Chris Cuthbert. Now listen, Chris Cuthbert is, he could have been doing that morning show here this morning. He wouldn't have known the difference. Chris Cuthbert is weak, okay? So it's bad enough that we get Bob Cole doing a Montreal game and we got to put up with Chris Cuthbert doing the Leafs. That's bad enough. Harry Neal is talking while the Leafs score a goal. The man doesn't even get a chance to score the goal. Later on in the game in the third period, at this point it's 4-3 Toronto.
You just told me Harry Neal was the best. Now you're saying he's talking while there was a goal scored.
Because he's catching the epidemic. It's like, no matter how good you, it's like Ebola. No matter what a good person you are, it's in the air, you catch it. And then later on in the third period, it's only 4-3 Toronto. It's a tense game. It's a tight game. LA's making a big comeback. And here's Ron McLean, another great guy, but he's the studio guy. And the game is going on. He's interviewing Rob Blake of the Kings, who's injured and not playing. And they're talking while the game is going on. Here's Paul DiPietro, scores the fifth, which turned out to be the decisive goal in the game. There's no call. There is no call. There's no anything. And Ron McLean says, here I am talking again when, Chris, you should be talking. And he still doesn't stop. He still goes on and finishes the interview. How can you be interviewing a guy while the game is going on?
I guess the epidemic has continued right through not only hockey, but now the NFL. They had the play-by-play announcerless game where they had Bradshaw
but this
and
shows
Jimmy
me,
Johnson
This shows me that the powers that be don't understand the importance of the great play-by-play broadcasters who can paint the picture either on radio or television. They don't appreciate it. They think that everybody wants to hear what the jocks have to say. Like Paul McGuire, who's nothing but a big pile of crap, a big buffoon who laughs at his own material. or Chris Collinsworth with that gravelly voice now, who thinks that, well, maybe he's auditioning to be doing that nighttime sports show they got on there at QAM with that guy with the gravelly voice. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Well, I think there's got to be a happy medium. I understand what you're saying, and there are a lot of hockey fans that I've talked to that agree with you. But when there is neutral zone play and there doesn't seem to be a great flurry going on, I see nothing wrong.
The great flurry. He needs a haircut, by the way. They had him on last night in the Pittsburgh-Calgary game.
He's on the cover of Hockey News.
He needs a haircut. Now, there's a great little player that somebody should get. Calgary will never let him go, but there's a great little player.
They can't. And they wouldn't have let Neuendijk go if he would have agreed to go back, but they embarrassed him.
I understand he enjoyed hanging out with the guys at Cornell, is the rumor that I get.
Well, he did enjoy hanging out with the guys.
Yeah, a little bit too much from what I understand.
Well, no, that's not true.
How do you know that? Well, it's just a joke, but right away you're defensive. See, you're starting to succumb to all those pressures, all those stories again. So anyway, we'll talk about Chris Moore for a moment when we come back.
What is with you today?
It's just a joke.
What is with you?
I'm trying to loosen you up a little bit because you're like such a
Loosen me up. You're the guy that's all fired up today, not me. I'm fine. I was looking forward to coming in, having a little fun.
I'm trying to divert my mental process from the internal things that are happening here. Don't you understand?
You look white as a ghost today. It's a good thing we're not on television today.
Remember Alistair
You're wearing
Sim?
A blue shirt and you're white and you're matching.
Remember the movie A Christmas Carol with Alistair Sim? I'm ready to put on that silly hat and the gown and start dancing around just to try to avoid reality here, which is a pretty ugly thing. Okay, we'll get Sherry on the phone, and I'm going to give him really holy hell. I give him holy hell, but he's got no power anymore. He just talks a good game. He doesn't get anything done.
Got to ask him about his tirade against the Canadians and the fans in Montreal.
Oh, don't worry about that. About the Frogs.
Yeah.
About Mike Keane, okay? They get rid of Mike Keane, the ex-captain. Captains are flying out of there. If you don't speak French up there, if there's anybody down here that thinks bilingualism works, just look at that election they had up there. Just look at the whole Montreal Canadian organization. They had to bring in Pierre Turgeon and all those frogs to satisfy them. And anybody who dared to make a comment about it, like Mike Keane, who was the last captain, you're out, okay? Kirk Muller is out. Mike Keane is out. You got to have a frog in there.
Last four captains, including Guy Carbonneau. There's a Frenchman that got traded, and he was a captain.
It's a frog fest is what it is. Anyway, 10:23 at WIOD. And so what's the story on the tickets? Because these people hang up. They think you got free tickets for tomorrow night's game against the
I guess I got to
Jets.
make your show, so I brought 10 pairs of tickets.
Oh, 10 pair. Okay. You can be sure that Goofball never matched that. No chance. 10:23.
10 pairs for tomorrow night. Also want to mention...
In fact, Jeff Moss, he'd be lucky to have one pair, but that's another story.
This is a feather in your cap. Do you realize, remember when last time we were out, we gave away the icebreaker?
Yeah.
Which was a 6-ticket voucher.
I sure do, and you didn't even understand
and
what it was.
And the John Van Beesbrook autograph.
Right.
Well, John's not very happy with you right now because he's had to sign quite a few pucks.
Yeah.
They have sold
a ton of them.
They have sold a ton.
Great.
Of the icebreakers. And by the way, they will stop selling them as of Christmas, so still time.
Yeah, you still got like 5 days. That's a great holiday gift.
1-800-GO-PANT.
Call up 1-800-GO-PANT and buy that icebreaker package, which will tell you more, but that's like for 6 games, and it's with the puck and all the other stuff
6 tickets, not 6 games.
Are you going to start again admitting that you don't understand what it's for?
It's not for 6 games. It's 6 tickets for 1 game, or you can use, well, unless you're going by yourself, you can use it for 6 games.
Or 3 games for 2 people.
Games.
It's
but
6 tickets.
6 tickets. You said 6 games.
It can be. We have a lot of antisocial people in this audience that go by themselves, okay? Cut the crap. Okay, 10:24 at WIOD. Are we still, is this station still on the air? We're not. George says we're not on the air, so don't take it too serious.
This is Rick Riley. I'm going skiing in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, February 17th through the 24th. I'd love to have you come with me. So let's go. Pick up the phone, make the call to Peter Glenn Travel, and come on out to Steamboat with us. Check this out. You're going to be getting round-trip air to Denver, bus transfer to Steamboat, accommodations at the ranch. It's an absolutely gorgeous place with an outdoor heated hot tub, pool, sauna, plus a 5-day lift ticket to ski Steamboat's Champagne Powder, and an on-mountain barbecue, and a NASCAR race with trophies and awards. All of this starting at just $999. But hurry up, seats are going fast. Time is running out. Call Peter Glenn Travel today at 1-800-FUN-2-SKI. That's 1-800-FUN-2-SKI. And make sure you don't get left behind.
Get your reservations now. Call 1-800-FUN-2-SKI. That's 1-800-FUN, the number 2, SKI.
Peter Glenn, go for the snow.
610 WIOD. Set your pager to vibrate.
This is Joe Bowen, the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs. They don't come any better than Neil Rogers.
Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. Brought to you by Molson Exports. X says it all. By Board of Canada, where quality is job one. It's working. By Imperial Oil and Esso Associates, proud to be one of the leading sponsors of youth hockey in Canada. And by Pepsi. Gotta have it.
Okay, we like to balance things out a little bit. We got one guy here that's a butt kisser and don't tell it like it is. We got another guy. We figure we better balance it out and get Grapes on the air. Don Cherry is here, who doesn't kiss butt and does tell it like it is most of the time.
Hi, Neil. Hey, that scene, all the Canadians down there have got chills right now. I tell you, that's one of the greatest scenes of all time.
It really is, and I can remember Bill Hewitt. I want to put that bug in you again. I remember him coming on the air. Yeah, I sure do, but of course you don't have him in the Hall of Fame yet. You know, I give you an easy assignment.
Well, neither am I.
Yeah. You're not?
No.
Well, that's because you made too many enemies. That's your problem.
Hey, Grapes, get this guy off my back, will you? Get this guy off my back.
Okay, now listen, I know...
Tell it like it is, right, Neil?
That's right. Grapes and I are the only two in America, in North America, that tell it like it is. Now,
now you're being nice to him.
Will
you're
you
sucking
stop
up
interrupting?
to him. Hang
I got
on
an
a second.
guy
Now
on the
you're
phone.
being nice to him and sucking up to him. You're ready to carve him last week. Wait till I get Cherry on here. I'm going to straighten him out, too. Now you're saying he's the only guy that tells it like it is.
I'm shutting his mic off, Grapes.
Good. Keep quiet.
So anyway, I was just telling him about his good friend J.D., John Davidson. He loves dropping names from me. You know, his good buddy J.D. I know that J.D., you think every now and then is full of crap. And, of course, he keeps talking through the game. And poor Sam Rosen's got to put up with that stuff. And now, I told Rimmer it's catching because Saturday night I'm watching the Leafs game, and you guys are out there in Los Angeles. Harry is talking over poor Chris Cuthbert. You know, it's bad enough we got to put up with Chris Cuthbert. We want Bob Cole doing the Leafs. We don't want him to do no frog games. We want him on the Leafs. So we got to put up with Chris Cuthbert. Harry is talking over while the Leafs score their first two goals. Then Ron McLean is talking to Rob Blake there when DiPietro scores the goal. Now, what the hell is going on here? Get these old jocks off the air already.
Doesn't matter, Neil. Doesn't matter at all. Long as Coach's Corner is great. That's nobody watches the game.
Well, we figured we'd talk to you about the Frogs today. That's one of the things.
Coach's Corner, a week, not this past Saturday. I was telling Don this the other day when I called him to invite him on your show, Neil. The show before this last Saturday's was one of the best, one of the all-time classics. And I guess you got a little flack for that one,
You better hang on to your seat tight, Grapes. The suction's starting already.
Wait a minute. They're all good. There's just some better than others.
Okay, well, that one was better. That one was a lot better. And I'll tell you what, you went after the fans in Montreal, you went after Réjean Houle, and you went after Mario Tremblay.
But I was a little disappointed you still haven't used the word frog yet. You're coming close with that Claude the Fraud, but you still aren't using the frog yet.
Well, when I was the guy that started Pat Roy, I don't understand them. I never heard of Raw Rogers, I'll tell you that.
Raw Rogers.
Yeah, they're about Florida. I mean, this is one of the greatest stories in the last 10 years. It's unbelievable.
And when are you guys going to get on it already? When are you going to learn we got the best coach going?
Absolutely, and he's going to be on the All-Star team, if you can believe that. I was there in the league 7 years, never made it once. Because if they end up first place in their conference, he could be in the All-Star.
That's right.
Mark Crawford.
I wonder if he'll come up with his own video now, challenge you.
No, never. No, are you kidding? Nobody touches that one. We're going over 200,000 this year.
Unbelievable. Rock'em Sock'em 7.
Yeah.
You haven't sent Neil and I our copies yet.
Hey?
You haven't sent Neil and I our copies.
Get you and Neil, I'll get you one. It's just I'm so busy up here that you know how that is. But Scott Mellenby, 36 points. You guys know that Jody Hall... plus 17 leads the league in shooting percentage.
There you go. Jody Hull is God. I've been saying that all along. These guys don't know. They don't know what it's all about.
I tell you, and you got Character Guy Strudland and Gordy Murphy.
Yeah, you guys ought to get a little bit more on us Panthers on that Hockey Night in Canada. Teach some of those guys up there a little bit what about a great hockey team's all about, and the fact that you don't have to pay guys millions of dollars to play well either.
Hey, Grapes, you know, this guy's being so nice to you today. Now, one thing you know about me, when I tell you something on or off the air, it's going to be the same.
Oh,
this guy.
Oh, my
This guy.
God.
Now, hang on. Hang on. Last week he's saying to me, Rimmer,
you're digging
he says
yourself
to me,
a hole so deep. I'm going to tell
let
you
me
something.
finish here.
Every time
Let
he
me
talks
finish
about
here.
this frog, Denise
Oh,
Poppman, to be
here
off
we
the air,
go.
that he's
Hang on a
doing his
second
color, it's
here.
always Denise.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me just.
I'm going to dig a hole for you you'll never get out of.
Listen to this one here. He says, wait till we get Grapes on, because now I think Cliff Fletcher's listening too much to Grapes. We've got Baumgartner
Too many
and
goons
Ty
on that
Domi and Dummy and all these other guys.
That's before Momesso scored the 2 goals in that one game, though, see?
You love a guy like Momesso, and how about Paul DiPietro?
That's a great story. DiPietro comes back from like oblivion and scores right off the bat, and the kid's doing good.
Paul, but anyhow, let's get back to you guys.
No, let's talk about the Leafs for just a second. You know, you didn't.
Florida.
We'll get back to them. We'll get back to them in a minute. But how about giving our Leafs a little bit of credit? They're 7 games over 500. They don't have that great of a personnel, but Pat's got them playing pretty good.
Well, they're a tough team, and Potvin, longest Potvin, and Damian Rhodes. I don't understand why somebody doesn't go after this guy. He's better than
he's damn good
backup goaltender, and he gets in every third game. I don't understand why somebody doesn't make a big.
Your Bruins could use him.
Yeah, the Bruins could use him desperate, boy. They might as well just have an empty net, the Bruins. They got no goaltending.
I felt sorry for Blaine Locker the other night. He exploded after the game. He let in 3 quick ones, almost lost the game. You know, your second year in the league, you don't start giving Boston reporters, heck, they'll remember and they'll get them.
That was after the Florida game.
Yeah.
And he
after we came back and almost got even in that game.
He's also the same goalie that told Jerry Cheevers last year, Grapes, after he was struggling for a while. Cheevers, the Hall of Famer, your former goalie. Cheevers went to help the kid out and he said, hey, listen, the game's changed. Thanks. I know you're a Hall of Famer, but no thanks. That's exactly what he told him. That's what he told him last year. He said, you don't have to help me.
I know how long he'd have played for you.
I can't imagine it. Imagine what Cheevers thought of that guy. So
he was pretty pissed off.
Well, I would imagine. I never heard that one before.
Well, hey, you're going to hear a lot of things.
So let's get back to this Frog Fest up there in Montreal. You know, we all watched with just amazed and shocked at that election up there in Quebec, that crap that went on there. And now you see the same thing, a microcosm of it on the Canadians, where unless you know, Mike Keane comes out, the captain of the team, and he made one little comment about, people that speak French and about if you don't do this, and all of a sudden his ass is gone, and it's true. They got to have Turgeon and all those frogs up there, and it's a sad thing that they got to build a hockey franchise based on something ethnic instead of talent.
Well, it's absolutely right. And what about the guy in Denver? He said that he actually said this in the Hockey News, that if he has a choice between an English guy and a French guy, he chooses the French guy. He's not changing one bit. They got a PR guy out there that's French that can't speak English. Figure that one out.
What do they do?
Colorado.
They think they're still in Quebec. Is that it?
That's it. And Lyle Odling was the absolute guy for. He's the guy that stood up in the dressing room and said, "Look, okay, the trade's there. Let's smarten up and let's start playing hockey." And he's the leader on this club, but unfortunately, his first name's not Pierre, so he was not the captain. You're absolutely right. Nobody says that up here. I mean, they're absolutely afraid. Believe it or not, we've got 3 French guys in Mississauga. We've got French signs all over the place. Sorty, Nordy, West Mud. $4 million for the 3 French guys in Mississauga. It's unbelievable. Of course, the 2 parties that we got running up here, both their names are Jean. So figure it out.
And by the way, speaking of Pat Roy, since the Avalanche got him, which I predicted this because I think he's washed up, they're not winning any games anymore.
Well, screw them off a little. That's all you need. You got to roll it along. You could do the same thing in Florida. Throw like something, trade Strudland or something like that. Just throw that little chemistry.
They're not going to
off.
trade Strudland.
Oh, I know they're not. I just said that, like a character guy. And if they did something like that, throw the chemistry off and you're gone.
Speaking of trades, how about this Nieuwendyk deal? You can't tell me, sitting here, that there are a number of teams, including the Leafs, Neil Rogers Maple Leafs, and the Florida Panthers, and the Devils, and the Rangers, that couldn't have come up with a better deal than what Dallas has done in getting Joe Nieuwendyk.
Boy, I tell you, Nieuwendyk is one of those guys at center. He could turn the whole franchise around, but what happens in Calgary, they're sitting there, they got to make the playoffs for those crowds out there, and nobody's coming up with a better deal. I mean, when you got a gun to your head like that, it's the same thing as Milbury in New York Islanders. He's got a gun to his head, and they're like sharks, the GMs. They just sit and wait till your weakest moment. So I guess they figure they better get something for him before the deadline.
Well, they made the trade last night. I don't know if you heard it, but they picked up a kid from Kamloops who was a number 1 pick out of Dallas last year. Obviously a future. He's not going to help them make the playoffs. And Corey Millen, who Dallas didn't even bring up from the minors until the last week or two. I mean, that trade, it stinks.
The catcher's the guy that's the big deal. You know, that's hey, you got to do something. It's the old deal that it's better to have somebody there than nobody there, and if they don't get going soon, they won't make the playoffs. And you know, in hockey, if you don't make the playoffs, you're in deep trouble financially.
Well, Al Coates, I think, sealed his own fate as the future general manager in Calgary with that trade.
They're not going to make the playoffs. They're going nowhere. That game they played against Pittsburgh last night, they might as well have stayed home. They didn't even show up.
Gordy Roberts, you know, when you have guys like that out, and they just lost too many guys. They did not want to. They let Otto go. And when you let McKinnis go, you can see they were going down the pipe as soon as he started that stuff. Vernon go. They didn't want to pay the big money, and when you don't want to pay the big money in sports anymore, you're going to end up last.
Then I'll tell you, they're playing no defense. This Trevor Kittle last night, he looked like he was in the game, playing the game by himself, man. It was an ugly thing to watch, especially when you're playing those Penguins.
Well, nobody's going to those if they're in the mood to play and they want to play, and Barras and Reggett start coming through, they're going to be in the finals. But sometimes they just show up, they're not ready to play. But boy, oh boy, can they put on a clinic if they want to go.
You bet. Okay, hang on a second, Grapes. We're going to do a little break. We'll come right back. Don Cherry's here, and Jeff Rimmer's here to hold his hand. It's 21 till 11 at WIOD. You're going to love it now more than ever. It's the new Pompano Park Racing for the thrill and excitement of live harness racing action and nightly full-card simulcasting from your favorite tracks.
The opinions expressed by the host, guest, or callers on WIOD are not necessarily those of the station or its sponsors. All WIOD programs are copyright 1995 by WIOD Incorporated. No tape recordings or transcripts may be created or distributed without prior written consent of WIOD Incorporated.
This is Mike Brophy, senior writer with the Hockey News. They don't come any better than Neil Rogers.
Back to Ted, trying to get into the clear, does. Going right in and goes, he's good!
Okay, so we got a little Bill Hewitt on there to try to put the plant the seed in Cherry's mind again, to get him in the Hall of Fame and quit postponing the inevitable, you know?
Well, I do the best I can. I'm not too popular with the Hall of Famers, as Rimmer knows, but I'll do my best. If I put the word in for him, he won't make it for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you got Neil Rogers syndrome.
Yep.
Same things happen to me.
Rimmer said to me, he said, you know, every time you're on with Cherry, you never play one of my calls, one of those great calls. The Panthers score all these goals. He says, how about playing a Jeff Rimmer call of one of those great goals? So I said, today's the day I'm going to do it so Cherry can hear some of your great work.
There's Francis after the puck. Behind the goal. Lindros beats Lemieux, and it clears, but not out. Sansom on the far side. Giving the puck to Francis. Now back to Sansom. Lemieux around the net. Lemieux turns around and shoots it. And Garceau made the save on him. Mario's got it back one more time. Lemieux again settles in. Goes to Francis. Will he shoot it? No. The Yager. He walks in. He's got a chance here. Shoots. Scores! Ted Cultural Yakko cigarettes too. He smoked them like a bad cigar. You leave Yager like that one-on-one, he will burn you. We've got a tie hockey game. Jaromir Jagr.
He's starting to sound more like Mike Lang all the time, isn't he, Grapes?
You know, I when I hear stuff like that, you know, I want to absolutely weep. You know what I mean? I hear this guy beat him like a dead mule and stuff like
Way
that.
to go, Grapes. I love you, Grapes.
I knew this was set up ahead of time.
It wasn't set up.
How much was the check for? How much did he send you to say this?
I can't say. Look, hockey, I know all the stuff we're coming in. We're standing on our heads, and we're pretty soon we're going to be announcing goals like spoon. We're going to have little midgets running around.
Well, that's Chris Moore. That's Chris Moore does that.
Pardon?
Chris Moore does that.
I know.
He already says that.
I just, you know, baseball has been the same since about 1800. We make more rule changes. We have guys coming in. How about this one, Rimmer? Fail to hold the zone. I like the one, yes, lateral movement. That means sideways? Keep the puck in, I guess. Reverse curl. I mean, that means he turn and come back.
How about this one? The hard around.
Oh, the heart around, yeah.
Sounds like something sexual to me.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah. Shoots it in on a heart around. I don't want to tell you, Rimmer's the one that says that one, by the way.
I don't like the one where they say the soft zone. I don't like that one.
Well, that's another sex thing, see? that's Potvin again, Denise.
Hey,
Felix, Denise.
Graves, let's get serious here for a minute.
Yeah.
You're coaching in the
subject.
You're coaching in the National Hockey League today.
Yes.
And this takes over for a debate that Neil and I had last time I was in here. You're coaching in the NHL today. You have your choice as your number one center, Lindros or Lemieux. Who do you take?
I'll take Lindros.
All right. Unrehearsed.
I've been had before in my life, but this is the biggest setup I've ever been put in the middle of in my life.
No way,
man.
it's not a setup.
The last time I got set up like this was those Cambridge diet fakers that came in. They set up all the calls ahead of time. That's like 15 years ago, for crying out loud. This thing is all planned. It's all scripted. I can't believe. Even Cherry's got a price. I can see that.
No way. First of all, the age. Second of all, the back. And Lindros is a complete package. There hasn't been a guy come along like him. Big, tough hit, fight, block shots, score goals, set up things.
All right, let's put the question a little bit different. Right now, forget about who you'd rather have for the long run. Right now, who's playing the best in the league?
Well, I'd have to say Mario when he plays right now. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
Lindros has been hurt a couple of times.
Yep.
He gets hit, hurt, and blocking shots, and that's one thing Mario will never be.
I'm going to tell you, Mario scored a goal last night. I don't know if you saw
Beautiful
the,
goal.
I don't know if you saw the highlights. It's about the third time I've seen him. He's behind the red line. It's an impossible angle, and somehow he slides it across that red line, and it just curves into that. I don't know how anybody
He's got
can
the
score
long
from
reach.
that angle.
No, that was a
He's
superb
unbelievable.
goal, and he's done it 3 times.
Yep.
Once against the Panthers.
Right.
Well, Bobby Orr said he's never seen a guy. He's the best he's ever seen skill-wise. Maybe not the best player, but skill-wise, he's the best he's ever seen. That was when Bobby didn't look in the mirror, that's all.
Yeah.
But he's got skills. He made a move on Bork 2 years ago that Raymond Bork, all-star North. I'm not putting a knock on him. He was screwing himself right into the ice. Remember that one where he gave it to him, come back and walked around? I mean, he does things that it's unbelievable. He was a floater the first 2 or 3 years. He definitely was a floater, but he went to Team Canada, and he saw Gretzky, and he saw Tocchet, and guys like that showed up every night. That's when he turned into a hockey player.
Well, there's some guys, you talk about Bobby Orr, there are some guys in this town, I don't want to say who they'd like to pretend that Denise Potvin was a better defenseman than Bobby Orr.
Well, listen, I'm not knocking Potvin. He was tough, too, and he could put the puck in, and he could make plays, and he could block shots, he could do it all.
But you put him in the same class with Bobby?
I put him right behind Bobby, but nobody. I'm not talking defenseman. I'm talking play.
I don't think Bobby want to have him right behind him.
Well, listen, if you could have, and you talk to Denny, and he could say, I'm right up close to Orr, it's pretty good. Serge Savard said there's players, stars, superstars, and then there was Bobby Orr.
There you go.
Speaking of Serge Savard, I read yesterday that he was interviewed for the Ottawa general manager's job.
On the phone. I couldn't, just a minute, what was that again?
Was Rose got you doing some...
Rose is hollering at me. She wants me to put up the Christmas tree or something.
Uh-oh, well, we're going to have to let you...
Go ahead, Neil, go ahead. What was that again about Serge, my buddy?
I was going to say Serge Savard, the story was, I read it yesterday in the Boston Globe, that he was at least interviewed and being considered for the GM job in Ottawa before they hired Pierre Gauthier.
Oh, I don't... Serge, I talked to Serge after the thing. He was, after he got fired, and he was a wiped-out man, and this guy, as Rimmer will tell you, is a millionaire. He doesn't need that aggravation, I'll tell you that right now. But that'd be good because, again, you have to have a French guy in Ottawa because Hull's right across the river, and they're trying to get the French people to come in. That's why they give Dago $12.5 million.
Most overrated player in the game, most overpaid player in the game.
Oh, ever in the history of sports.
Yep. And in the meantime, they're not drawing flies in there, and they're going to build that bigger arena, and they're still not going to draw flies unless they got a product to put on the ice.
When are we going to get to talk about Florida? I'd like to...
Okay, let's do it. And I want to hear more about Florida on a hockey night in Canada, so all these people all over the world with their satellite dishes can hear what a great team and a great coach we got.
Absolutely, and he went under, Doug McLean went under a very cloud getting that job because everybody said, and I'm going to say it, the only reason he got it was that Brian Murray is his friend, and that's why he got it. And
yeah, I got sucked into that. That's what I believe.
Yeah, and then somebody said, well, Brian got him because then he could fire him a little, and then he could back coach it again. I guess he showed them all. Jovanovski, I'm telling you, this guy, he is one of my favorite players. The guy comes down that left side going in his side, and when he hits, he's like, he reminds me of Lindros in a way. He hits to hurt. He just doesn't hit, hit to hit to impress everybody.
And what a great kid. Loves to play the game, Grapes, always with a smile on his face.
And I had to laugh one time when he was in the finals 2 years ago. They brought all the first-rounders down, and you remember this, I put them on Coach's Corner, and Sports Illustrated said, it must have been a real thrill to meet Mark Messier, after the Cup. He said, no, the real thrill was going on Coach's Corner with Grape.
That's true.
That's why I love him.
That's why you love him. I knew there was another reason. Now, I know you're not too big on those Europeans, but this kid, Radak Dvorak, this kid's going to be a star.
Well, Doug McLean said he's a tough kid. I said, yeah, comparatively speaking, so we won't go into that. Yeah, he's not bad, but the playoffs come around, and then you're going to get Terry Kartner plus 14. Paul, if anybody, you got a lovely blend here. Anybody wants to fool around, you got Paul Laws, he can straighten them out. And everybody talks about Van Beesbrook, and he is a 14-7-1. But I never hear anybody talking about Fitzpatrick 9-1-1. I never hear anybody.
He's played phenomenal. That's right. Well, see, the only name they know down here, unfortunately, is Van Beesbrook because they like the sound of it. But Fitzy's played great too. Well, and of course, all this stuff about the Europeans, it must make your blood boil when you watch those Red Wings out there. Who, again, great regular season. We don't know if they'll choke in the playoffs, but they put that all-Russian line, those 5 Russian guys out there. You must be going nuts.
Well, first of all, you got Paul Coffey, 1,000 points, can't make the power play. Figure that one out. And all I got to say, when I was on a Detroit talk station, crash line. And Rimmer knows what I'm talking about. Palik, Peluso, and McKay, they threw them out against those Europeans there. They had to get cattle prods to get them on the ice. And you gotta have character guys. I know the Europeans, you gotta have them popped in the goals net, but in the playoffs, take a look at the guys that come through in the playoffs all the time. And
now, one guy's on Detroit. He can't get on the ice, Cicerelli.
Yeah, well, there's another thing. Well,
I knew we'd never get through. I never knew we'd never get through the whole hour without Rimmer getting Cicerelli's name in there at least once.
They've been fighting since he got there. Dino, he's always...
Dino and Scotty fought before they got there.
Yeah, and here's the guy that's your best playoff guy. If they all played like he did in the playoffs last year, they might have won the Stanley Cup.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to let you go, but let me just make your prediction right now. Put you on the spot. Who do you like in the finals?
I like Detroit, Pittsburgh in the finals, and you won't believe this, Rimmer. I was almost what I said. We almost called McLean. At the very opening, he had how you have a talk and you got about a minute to go or something, you got to fill. Right off the bat, before the season started, the first game, he says who's going to win the Stanley Cup and who's going to be in the finals. So I said, what, are you kidding? The kid hasn't even started. You got to tell me right now. I said Detroit, Pittsburgh with Detroit winning it. And that was before.
And you think that
I am amazing.
You think
this? You into silence. I know that.
And you think this is the year they're finally going to forget how to choke? Is that what you're saying?
This is the year they're going to try to choke. But I'll tell you, my favorite team to watch, I got to say right now, is Chicago. I'll tell you something, boy. They're not doing very good, but if something moves on the ice,
they come to play.
And Probert is playing the best he ever played in his life.
But I'm going to tell you, Eddie the Eagle, man, pretty shaky these days.
He's not playing very well in the net.
Eddie the Eagle, they got to get the Hackett in there. Eddie the Eagle, he had 29 shots in 2 games and lost them both. Then Friesberg gets that sometimes in a period.
Right.
No way. Belfer, I've said this along. He plays when he wants to play. You got to get Hackett in there. He's won his last 3.
Hey, Grapes, what's your prediction for the Panthers in the playoffs?
It all depends. Again, you go back again as Van Beesbrook or Fitzpatrick. If you have and your injuries, you guys got a team that you can't have 2 or 3 injuries. You have 2 or 3 serious injuries, then it's sayonara.
But you know what? It's a little different, though, here, and this is something you can talk about on Hockey Night in Canada. A little different with the Panthers because they don't have a superstar, and Doug McLean can roll 4 lines. Yeah. And when it gets to the playoffs, things tighten up defensively. The Panthers can play that well. They've got a decent back line, and they've got, as you mentioned here a couple of times, they've got great goaltending. So they are going to be in the playoffs now. If they play 500 from here on in, they're in the playoffs. And the fact of the matter is, anything, as you well know, as coach of the Bruins, anything can happen in the playoffs.
Well, that's true, but the only thing I see about Florida, they haven't been there before, And sometimes when a team like that makes the playoffs, they say, oh, this is our Stanley Cup. And you've seen that before. They've got to think it's not enough just to make the playoffs. They've got to do.
Talk us up there, will you, please?
I'll do our best.
Okay. Thanks a million. Have a great holiday, Grapes. And we'll talk to you soon.
Toodaloo.
Okay.
Say hi to Rose.
1056 at WIOD.
If you watch the Weather Channel cable network, you'll see messages touting 610 WIOD as the radio station with the best news, traffic, and weather. The Weather Channel knows, and that's why they called us. No pancaked weather babes here. Weather pros on News, Talk, and Entertainment Radio. 610 WIOD.
Okay, we're almost up on the news now, which I never ever do that, but in the case when you got Grapes on the phone, you don't monkey around and cut it short. And it's real fascinating to see. Like I said, when you're had, you admit it. You say, okay, I've been had. I know this was a setup deal. During the break now, Rimmer admitted he sent a nice check up there, a nice holiday check to Cherry.
I did
he
nothing
says,
of the sort.
Mike Lang a big ass. Give a song and a dance about Eric Lindros. And, everybody's got their price.
Emotional stability is not what it's cracked up to be. WIOD, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. News, Talk, and Entertainment Radio. 610 WIOD.